Hello and welcome to the Newsx Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, this week we're taking a look at the conflict between Iran and Israel, but more important, the effect that the impact and the price that common civilians have to pay for that. Those who are caught in the middle, who have nothing to do with this. I'm, of course, also talking about the passengers stranded in Dubai. In fact, today's focus is going to be on the passengers who are stranded. We have people who made it back, some in the nick of time, some after the conflict started, the alternate routes that they took, some even went back to Dubai. So our panel, in fact, has a mixed lot of people, and we have people who are helping. We'll try and find you solutions. We'll try and give you what the options are available on this show. Joining me on the show today is Suhel Seth, marketing maven, columnist, and of course, a voice we all love to hear. Yashwant Deshmukh, he's the founder of Sea Water, but today he's not here as a psephologist, but he's the one who actually made it back to his home in Dubai during the crisis. So it'll be good to know about his trip. Lall, who just made it back on I think third. So he was there, in fact, when the conflict broke out and when the flights from Dubai were cancelled. He made it back to India on the third. Anish Gawande, he has not on the flight, but on ground, he's been the role of a good Samaritan. He's an NCP spokesperson. But today he's here because he's been very active on social media, trying to connect people, flights, keeping us alive with, abreast of all the information. But first, Suhail, I'll begin with you. You were there in Dubai when this, tell us about, I think, were you one of the last people who got the flight out? Suhail, what happened? Tell us your experience.
So I was already booked to fly on Saturday the 28th on EK 516. That takes off at 9:55. I'd already boarded the plane and I was just scrolling Twitter and I get a message. I mean, it was on Twitter saying that Tehran has been attacked. So I put two and two together that if Tehran was attacked, there'd be airspace restrictions. At that time, no one had thought of closure, blah, blah, blah. By about 10:05, we started the pushback. And by about 10:30, 10:40, when we'd gained about 10,000 feet altitude, the captain said, the good news is we've taken off. The bad news is Dubai airfield is shut. But they weren't certain. So here's the thing, the ATC at Dubai or any of the successive ATCs as you keep traveling should alert you, but obviously they were keeping it under wraps. The other problem was that the crew had no idea. So when I was leaving the aircraft, when we landed in Delhi, I told the crew, I said, I hope you have fresh clothes. So they said, why? I said, Dubai airfield is shut. Oh my God. So no one knew. The airport, the management, because it was a regular flight, no news of the war had broken out. It was brilliant. The beauty about India and Dubai must be underscored by me. I've always said Sheikh Mohammed and then Sheikh Maktoum, they run a great country oblique state. They had everything in position. Yes, there were missile attacks, there were drone attacks, all of that happened. But there was a certain fortitude with which everyone played the game. You know, emergency alarms, siren systems, people were moved from hotel rooms right to the basement, mattresses were set up, food, drink, everything was organized. On our side, I have to give credit to Air India, which did a fabulous job in also getting its first relief flight, which I will use with care, where they flew back all their crew. The Delhi airport, which I'm familiar with, was fantastic. But see, I landed on the 28th, which is a Saturday, and the 29th, I flew to Goa. So when I'm going in the morning, on the morning flight, I could see the crowd management and everything. Because, people were transiting from all over. The learning in this is that how important West Asia has become as an airline hub oblique transit point is something that we need to be concerned about. Because if that airspace gets closed, look at the ripple effect it has. And what was happening was you were actually hemmed in. Because let's take a look at the global aviation map. For us, Pakistan airspace is closed. So there was no way that a flight from Dubai could come anywhere into India unless it cleared Omani airspace and then came all the way down to Goa and then climbed all the way up to Delhi or climbed slightly up to Bombay. These are interesting aviation points to note. So, what is the situation today? Because, I was also on the global board of British Airways for 6 years. So, I've been in touch with all the aviation people. Because, as you know, Priya, I travel insanely. Like, I'm, again, back on a flight, all that. Thing is, for 4 weeks, there will be aviation mayhem in terms of bookings and flights. Because what has happened is Iran, for whatever reason, is also targeting civilian outposts. So, there was a bomb that was thrown at Doha airport. The concourse at Dubai airport was damaged. So, airlines are very particular that they will not take a risk with passengers and aircraft in a situation which is as fluid and as unpredictable. A. B. Pete Hegseth and Donald J. Trump and the Joint Chiefs, Ken, said that this is going to last for 4 weeks. As we speak, Tehran has launched the 19th wave of attacks this morning. And Tehran's point is that we are attacking civilian outposts in those countries which are harboring US bases. You saw what the US submarine did, the Los Angeles class. It sank an Iranian ship in the Indian Ocean. So, with a situation as fluid as this, Priya, it is very difficult for anyone to be clear. So, my advice to people, if they're traveling west and not West Asia, is use carriers like Swiss, use carriers like British Airways, who are not part of the war, as it were, including Turkish Airlines, because Turkey is not part of the deal. Air India, of course. The only thing with Air India is that the route may be a bit longer because, as I mentioned, Pakistan airspace is closed and the Middle East is in chaos. But otherwise, in ranking, in terms of safety, obviously, Air India, Swiss, British Airways, Turkish, and any of the American carriers. The only reason why I worry about the American carriers is you never know how rogue Tehran will go, depending on how much they are provoked. You don't want a situation where an American aircraft is downed by some silly missile, as it has happened in the past. So this is basically the lay of the land. Having said all that, and I will end with just saying one thing, it is always about empathy. And I'm glad people like Anish are helping people, because that's what you need. You need succor, you need hope, you need relief. But most important of all, you need empathy. What the UAE government has shown is a remarkable sense of empathy. People's stays have been extended. The government is picking up the tab. All you need to do is sign your bill in the hotel, and the hotel is duty bound to send that to the Abu Dhabi Tourism Development Corporation, the ATDC. So these are great things, and this is the new world order.
But
more and more airlines, more and more countries will have to prepare for these calamities. And we in India should learn a thing or two.
that's a topic for, I think we can have another discussion on that, the New World Order. That's a very interesting topic that you touched on, Suhel. But Dave, you were there, before I bring Yashwant in, because he came back the other way. Tell us about your experiences, what happened.
Yeah. So I was scheduled on the flight at 3 o'clock.
On what date?
On Saturday itself, the 28th, probably the flight after Suhel left. They sent the car for my pickup. I reached there. They didn't say anything. We started checking in, and we'd already done our online check-in. And that's when the whole shutdown happened. Apparently, that's when they hit Abu Dhabi at that time. No confusion, but nobody really knew what was going on. It was Saturday. I've been in situations where cancellations have happened before. So I just told my wife, who was with me, that, you know what, let's just make a weekend out of it. This is a minor skirmish. Let's just go back and check into the hotel and take the flight tomorrow. So we did that. We waited half an hour, 40 minutes, and we left the airport by 2:30, 2:45, and went back to our hotel, checked in, and carried on normal life. Didn't hear anything, didn't see anything.
Which airline was this?
This was Emirates. So didn't see, hear, feel anything. Figured it's just a minor skirmish, will be over. That evening, the sound started. I didn't see any of the explosions. I didn't see any fireworks.
Fairmont was bombed, yeah.
But you could hear the sounds. By about 7:38, you knew something was on. And Twitter lit up with Burj Khalifa on fire, this, that. And I was standing there looking, saying, "Oh my God, this hyperbole is just going to get someone into trouble." Then at about 2 a.m, the alarms went off on our phones, and you could hear more sounds. There was no panic. I couldn't see anything. I just heard. Woken up in the morning again, and this time above the hotel, we could see smoke trails. We could see puffs of smoke, counted about 7, 8 interceptions above us, really high. These weren't those small planes. And then by afternoon, we figured out, hey, this is not going to go away. Meanwhile, Emirates had sent us the coupons to the hotels, and these are the people. I mean, you have to see Emirates is about 300 aircraft, so they have some 250,000 people in transit. So that became their priority. Everything else, all other tickets after that, they cancelled. And standard cancellation. Here's your refund. Rebook when we are open. We will open and tell you when, was the message to us. And all of us who were in transit got these hotel vouchers. I chose not to imbibe in their hospitality. I said, fair enough, let's figure it out. And I got myself rebooked on the Tuesday flight, afternoon flight, which was the third that they said was open. But it didn't sound good, so I made a backup plan through Oman, did all my homework, figured it out, and said we'll trigger it on Tuesday morning. Monday was a quiet evening. Dubai is working normally, went out, great dinner. Yeah, Ramzan is on, so it's slightly slow. There are people in. Again, didn't see or hear anything except an explosion in the sky here or there. There were some fighter jets on Monday night over central Dubai. We could hear them, obviously patrolling. Then we woke up on Tuesday morning, and it was very clear to us that the airport's not going to open. Emirates had cancelled our flight, cancelled our ticket. So went down to check out, caught an Uber to the Hatta border, walked across the Hatta border over there. It was pretty smooth. The process is about an hour and a half because there were 3 busloads of us. Between the 2 borders, they have an Omani bus to take you. Reasonably organized. It's a very small border, so it's like a little bit of a bottleneck over there. Omanis were very receptive. They were looking the other way without visas and stuff like that. But mainly what the people with me who were traveling 3 busloads were Russians, Europeans, Americans, very, very few Indians. They were all still waiting for this repatriation flight and we'll be flown out. Whereas the Europeans and all that had figured that it's not happening, let's go. I managed to get a ticket to Goa only on Oman Air. So we took a cab to Muscat Airport. It's a 3.5, 4-hour drive from the Hatta border. Reached Muscat Airport, last minute, a seat opened up on a Delhi flight, locked that, jumped onto it, and I reached yesterday at 9:30 in the morning in Delhi. So about 20 hours on the road, pretty smooth, no problem. You just had to plan in advance. Coming to a few points over there, I know the Abu Dhabi, I was in Dubai, so at the hotel, when I was checking out, the hotel was offering people that if you're in financial distress, fill out this form, submit it to the government, etc. Again, I didn't partake in that one, so I don't know the process over there. But there was no price gouging. The hotel was very reasonably priced because of Ramzan. They didn't jack their prices up. The Uber charged me what the rate was. On the Omani side, a little bit of price gouging. They were charging double the price, but I knew somebody there who would pick me up, so I didn't get involved in that. And it was an expensive last-minute change on the ticket, but I needed to get back, so that was it.
Okay.
The only advice I can give is those borders are not opening. The airports are not opening up. In fact, because I'm still holding a ticket on Emirates now, they've pushed it to the 8th. And you've got 250,000 people stuck in transit. It's going to take 10 days at 20 flights a day permitted to flush out. So anybody who had tickets for 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 7th March, if you don't need to leave Dubai and you're working there, just stay on. There's no problem there. And if you are like me, that you really need to get back and you're stuck, well, if you're in UAE, you have 2 options: drive through Saudi, drive through Oman, and get out. That is your only option for the next 10 or 15 days, in my opinion, over there. And that's what my advice would be.
Thank you, Dev. Thanks. That's pretty comprehensive. But we have, in fact, I believe SpiceJet and Air India Express also have begun flights from Dubai. We will get into that a bit. But Yashwantji, you went back to Dubai. Where were you when this happened, and a bit about your story?
I was pretty much in Delhi, and uh, well, honestly speaking, I was in touch with my family here, and they were doing great in that way. I mean, they were confident, and I was confident as well. I guess that I just came just because any dad would love to be in the time of crisis to be with his daughter and with his wife and like that. So I was not that I was panicked or not that I was kind of in a distress that what will happen to my family. No, I know the systems work here. Things work here, nice and fine and cool and calm. We have seen during the COVID times the way the things worked here. So that was not at all the case. I just wanted to be with my family, and I was on the very first flight actually, which Emirates operated out of Dubai after the crisis started, uh, and I booked on that one. Uh, Unfortunately, it took off, and then midway, basically, that airspace got closed again, so it had to turn back to Delhi. It was an Emirates flight, so they told us then and there that this is what has happened, and we are going back to Dubai and
Back to Delhi.
back to Delhi, and that's it. So it's almost like 4 hours in the air, and we were back to Delhi. Word of thanks to actually Delhi airport people. Uh, because when I was checking in for that flight and going through the immigration guy was, you know, kind of full of that. You're going back to the family. I said, yeah, I mean, yeah, good luck. I mean, you need to be there. They were nice and empathic to talk to. And once through that, actually, when we landed, by that time, as a back, just like Devji had a backup of Oman Air, I had actually done a backup booking on Oman Air, which was later around 10 in the morning, while this flight opened up only in the last moment. So the moment we landed in Delhi, I just said to them that I might have to take that flight, and there were few others, surprisingly, in the same flight who had an alternative booking on that flight as well. So the moment we told in Delhi that, the gap was only about 2 hours. So basically, for you to come out, because the process is that you have to come through the immigration again, because it's like you have landed in the immigration, you have to go out, check in and go through that entire process all over again. But they were kind enough to guide us the entire part of that to vacant immigration counter and screening desk, and that was done very quickly. Even while rechecking in and coming back in, it was a breeze in that way. So they were taking care of that. So thank you for Delhi Airport for that. And after that, yeah, I mean, through Oman Air, just the other way around. What Dave did, I did the other way around, landing in Muscat and then taking a car from there. And it took me roughly about 6.5 hours end to end. I did not book it from there to the border and then border to a separate one because that was a riskier one. Also, I wanted to be home before the dusk because my friends told me that, probably the kind of action in the sky that starts once it is kind of dark after the dusk, so make sure that you are home by that. The ride was smooth. Ride was smooth. There was no panic anywhere, neither at the border crossing, at the immigration, nothing. I mean, everything was smooth. Things work here smoothly, Priya. Those who have been here, and Suhel and everybody, I know. I mean, and it's people somehow they get an issue with. I don't know what kind of pleasure they derive from it. Like Suhel said, the most important critical thing is to have empathy. And when you have a sitting member of parliament giving us those who have changed their passport and gone to Dubai, I hope they know. I mean, what kind of BS is that? I don't know. And nobody changes the passport. In the Middle East, you don't change the passport. You live in it. It's a home for me. So I just wrote that, I'm going home and I'm not going to change my passport. It's going to be the same passport. It's not about that. There are 4 million people living here,
Right.
4 million expats, Indians living here. It's home for them. It's home for me. We have families here. Show some empathy to that, and that's not the point. And And blue collar, white collar, the kind of economy that works, the kind of money the expats send home, and the value it has in our forex reserve. Everybody participates in the India's growth story and everything in their own way. It's their contribution to it. And you shall not make fun of it, and particularly more so in the time of crisis, you know.
Well
So
said. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's about it. So
Hmm.
some lunatics did troll to me. I don't know what was their problem, Suhel. I really failed to understand what was their problem in me going back to my family. Just saying that I'm going back home was problematic to many. I mean, it's beyond thing, but it's
I think you
calm
have to do a
forever.
Suhail and give it back to them, basically, Yashwant.
Yeah. Always, you give one chair back, they all stop. They're
I'm going to.
essentially anonymous cowards.
Yeah.
So if you screw them back, they immediately withdraw because they're intellectually also innocent.
Yeah,
On,
but
yeah. Okay.
thanks to Anish and many people. I mean, let me put it this way. First of all, nobody is rushing back. I mean, you see, please try to understand. There are stranded passengers. There is a
Right.
difference between people who got struck here when they are visiting Dubai or when they are in transit. They are the people who have to be evacuated and sent back on priority. People who are living here, they are not flying back. I mean, the schools are on, they are having online classes and everything, and obviously,
Hmm.
people are. In fact, government offices have opened. People are going to the offices. I can see the traffic moving right now from my window. So the thing is, they are taking precautions. So schools are on with
Right.
online classes, not
Hmm.
because there is a trouble, just because they don't want to take any risk with the kids. That's
No, fair
about it.
enough.
Yeah,
I'm going to
that's
take a
about it.
break and come back, but I totally understand, Yashwantji, why you're so full up. And I know you really should, as Suhail says, in parliamentary terms, I'll use not Suhail's words, but you should give it back to them. I'll just take a quick break and come back. Hello and welcome back to the Newsx Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, we're taking a look at the on-ground situation in Dubai. And Anish, I've been watching your Twitter posts and on social media. You've been very actively helping people find flights. So, which are the airlines that are now operating from Dubai? And as they've said, it's a limited window, but I've seen SpiceJet, I've seen Air India Express. Which others?
Priya, thank you for having me on here. And I'm very glad that you've had this roundtable because the first thing to note right now is that everyone who is currently stranded across the Gulf needs to remain calm, right? I think, unfortunately, there is an atmosphere of panic that is being artificially generated online, which is
Yes.
resulting in a lot of people being anxious, which is fair, which is resulting in a lot of people being eager to leave, even when it might not be necessary. And therefore, at this time, if you're in the GCC, your best bet if you are stranded is to stay in touch with your airline. If you're at airline provided accommodation, you will be the first to be sort of taken out of the country and you will be sort of put on to the next flight out when commercial airspace opens. If you absolutely need to get out, and this might be for a medical emergency, this might be for business reasons, this might be for a variety of reasons, right? Currently, as everyone here has mentioned, Muscat, Jeddah, Dammam, Riyadh are your best options, depending upon what part of the GCC you're in. Carriers in countries like Bahrain, Gulf Air have been flying out of Dammam. They're taking their passengers out of Bahrain to get into airspace that is open. Carriers in the UAE are requesting passengers to stay put, and those passengers can go to Muscat and fly out. Repatriation flights, and I think we should stop calling them that because they are not repatriation flights,
Yeah.
but new commercial operations launched by SpiceJet and Indigo and Akasa and Air India Express have begun operations. Now,
All
these
right.
are incredibly fluid, right? They're announcing flights as and when airspace opens up. Tickets on these flights are expensive, right? The SpiceJet flight goes for around 75,000 rupees from Fujairah. Lots of people have had difficulty booking that flight, but it is a viable option to get out from the UAE itself if you don't have a sort of valid US UK visa or a GCC residence permit and you can't go to Oman. Although, as Dev said, the Omani authorities are being very, very understanding if you don't meet the technical criteria to go and fly out from Muscat, right?
Hmm.
I think in all of this, what is really also important to note is in some other countries, for example, Qatar, people have been at several hotels put up by Qatar Airways, and those people are getting nervous. Over there, your options are slightly limited. People might not want to fly to Saudi, and that is a little trickier drive. And Saudi airspace has been seeing intermittent closures. The Dammam airport opened, shut down again, opened. And so, particularly for folks who have a safe place to stay where they currently are, it is much better to be stranded, quote unquote, over there than to go to Muscat and realize that you're stranded there, or to go to Dammam and realize you're stranded there if you don't know anybody there, right? I think there's no
Okay.
urgency to go back right now. And I think,
Okay.
particularly given that the drone strikes have been intercepted fairly effectively, there haven't been missile strikes at any civilian establishments. There is currently no threat perception level that will justify an evacuation. And many people are reaching out saying, is the Indian government going to airlift us? Is it going to evacuate us? I just don't think we're at that moment yet, right? And I think that
Yeah.
it's very important to keep reiterating that, which is why in
Okay.
some parts this repatriation flight has been a little challenging to convince people of, or rather challenge, because it has sort of made people believe that it's an evacuation flight.
Very well said. And we are out of time, but just one quick last word, Suhel, on what Yashwant's very, evocatively, and I think it's a very good point he made at this Twitter bullying that is going on. People are going home. If that is his home, let him. Why should he have to explain and answer to people?
He shouldn't. I don't know why he did. He's too gentlemanly. Ignore them. When a
Little bit of
caravan
Suhel in.
moves and dogs bark, the caravan doesn't stop. You just keep moving.
But Priya, I want to add, sorry, Suhel, I'm cutting you off for 1 second because Yashwant, you've been facing bullying for coming back. The one bullying we must all speak out against is of Iranian or Indians in Iran. I know people are upset that they didn't leave when their advisory was issued, but देखो बेवकूफ है पर हमारे बेवकूफ है. The Indian government's position is not that they are stranded there. The Indian government is trying its best. The MEA is trying its best. All of these trolls coming after anyone still stuck in Iran being like, oh, why should we evacuate
Ignore
you?
them, yeah.
That needs to be sort of countered directly because those poor students are really, really in trouble.
Empathy. I think Suhel had the right word, empathy. That's the most critical thing that you can have. And if you cannot be empathic, keep your mouth shut, man. I mean,
Yeah.
अगर कुछ अच्छा नहीं बोल सकते तो मुंह बंद रखो ना इस समय. What's the big deal? इतना भी क्या है? And you know what? And one thing, okay, I mean, not as a joke, but it puts a smile. I mean, few media friends also flew in. Suhel, this is interesting because they flew into basically Oman Air took the same thing and they were there and they were calling me yesterday, how to go about it. They wanted to go further in and like that, should we take a flight or should we go in Dubai or should we put in Dubai and like that. And I told them very clearly, you know what? I have a very serious, those who are in surrounding here, if you want to do the kind of circus coverage that Indian media is known for, please do not come to Dubai.
Correct.
I'm being very serious.
I agree
Don't
with you.
come to Dubai and continue with your circus coverage.
Not another Operation Sindhu. I agree
No,
with you.
I mean, as a friend, I am telling you, don't do that because they can survive anything, they can absorb anything, but they do not appreciate his stupidity. They do not appreciate his circus, and that too, particularly lying about the problems that people are not facing any problem. Let me be upfront about it. There's interceptions. We see that it's happening. It's fine.
Okay.
Whatever the little
Quickly,
bit
sir.
of destruction has happened is because of the debris that has gone down. It's not because of any missile has struck. And yes, Anish is absolutely right. If you are stranded, probably you are safest in where you are. Just be there.
Yeah.
Quickly, Suhel, I want you to get. I know you have to leave, but what he said about Indian media coverage also is very interesting.
Irresponsible. They're a bunch of jokers, many of them. Ignore that too. I mean, just have a discount factor. If they tell you, oh, things are so bad, discount it by 70%.
Well, I'd like to add with all the hyperbole they have, I would love to see them transit through Dubai next time and get a full cavity search there. The same idiot.
Done.
Would be very interesting.
Now, on that note, but I think we've raised a lot of issues, hopefully some helpful information also. But I think what Yashwant, two very important points in terms of the coverage on social media, it should be helpful as Anish is doing instead of just trolling people who are just looking to get back or get out. It's not their fault they're stuck there. And of course, what Suhel said about the new world order, this is becoming the new normal, what with Ukraine, what now happening here, what's happening on our own borders with Pakistan. I think, Suhel, I'm going to get you back on the new normal in maybe another
Done.
conversation. But
Done.
thank you, and good you made it back safely, both Dev and
Thank you.
Yashwant and Suhel. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.